Yes, sir.
What's going on, everybody? Hope you guys are doing well. Today's video, we're going to look at how to lose properly. We're going to look at how to manage your expectations and refine your trading psychology to hopefully accelerate your growth as a trader. It's a highly requested video, so let's get on into it. First, look at table of content, basically what's going to be in this video. I'll try and put timestamps up on the screen, otherwise it'll just be in chapter form. But we're going to look at what causes losses, good versus bad losses, how to properly journal, learning from your mistakes, self-discipline, and managing your subconscious, as well as some resources at the end of the video. So what causes losses? Well, the one that probably everyone is most familiar with is emotional decision making. So this could be a combination or a culmination of fear, greed, anger, confidence, or anything in between. And that's probably the one that a lot of people struggle with and are having the most time to try and deal with and perfect, is managing their emotions whilst they're trading in and outside of the market. Another one could be poorly managed expectations. This can lead to poor decision making, as well as when you have expectations that don't meet reality, and then you have disappointment and sometimes even more emotional trading as a result. Technical errors, inexperience, lack of model, that's all within just your time in front of the charts and how comfortable you are seeing your model and actually executing on a day-to-day basis based on your learning and your experience within the marketplace using ICT concepts or whatever concept that you may use. Lack of discipline, that's in and outside of trading, and then any combination of all of these or a non-listed factor that you may personally be dealing with that could be causing any specific loss or continued loss as you take them. So there is a difference between a good loss and a bad loss, and this is a concept that I really never understood until later on. I always thought that losses were just something that were bad regardless, and it was something that I was doing wrong, and really nothing that I could come to terms with, because I felt like just losing was something that I didn't associate a good trader to do. But it's important to understand that every trader takes a loss, right? Every successful trader, every profitable trader always will take losses. It's just part of the system. It's part of trading. And as you trade, you learn that it's something that's inevitable. It'll always come. There'll always be the next drawdown. There'll always be the next larger loss than you expected. And you always have to be managing the drawdown. That's really what a trader is just managing drawdown, getting out of drawdown, and dealing with the losses, because everyone can win. And it's really easy to win once you understand a model, but it's the hardest part is actually executing properly and then obviously managing those good losses. So you have to come to terms with variance and luck, and that's something I'll touch on here in a couple minutes. But experience and growth within a model, that'll hopefully mitigate the amount of bad losses you take and probably increase the amount of good losses. And then perception is everything. Technically, there is no such thing as a good versus bad loss, since you can learn from either one. But your perception on how you actually view the loss is going to be important as to how you grow and learn from that, and obviously apply the benefits in the future. So some examples of a good loss would be a trade and a loss within your model. It has properly managed risk, so predefined risk before you take the trade that you came to terms with, obviously looking at your own risk tolerance and what you allow either within an eval or in a demo, whatever it may be, and obviously a properly placed stop. So if it stops you out, perfectly fine. It's a trade that's taken in high probability conditions and a high probability model that you've back tested and you feel comfortable with, and it's easily corrected and promotes a healthy growing process to eventually progress as a trader and obviously just minimize hopefully any of those technical errors that you may be making. So a good loss is mostly technical, and it's something that sometimes you can't avoid, but it's all very easily controllable after the fact, because it reduces the amount of emotions you have. It reduces the amount of mistakes that you may make as a result. And it's always going to have some pain associated with it. But good losses are much easier to deal with emotionally and physically compared to bad losses. And bad losses would be you're poorly risk managed, you're over leveraging, over trading. It leads to more mistakes. So as a result of taking a bad loss that maybe was outside of your model, maybe then as a result you feel, okay, I should maybe correct this mistake, or I should maybe over leverage or over trade to then make my P&L green. So it can lead to more mistakes that you shouldn't be taking in the first place. And it can create a spike in emotions, which obviously can lead to poor decision making, even further over leveraging, over trading, potentially blowing the account. And these are, bad losses that sometimes we don't realize, but they're also avoidable and the ones that you want to completely eliminate from your trading. Bad losses should have no place in a profitable trader's system. Good losses should, right? And perception is everything. Obviously, everything would be a good loss since you can always learn from it, but there's a little bit of a difference between the two, and ones that are expected and ones that should not be tolerated at all. So, how to properly journal. This is going to be extremely important on how to actually minimize those bad losses. And it's something that I feel like a lot of people don't touch on. Everyone talks about your post-market journaling, but not really the things you should be doing in between that. So I really believe that there's 3 sections to properly journaling: pre-market, during the session, and post-market. We'll touch on the first one here. So pre-market would be, basically, this would all be written down preferably. So you have a physical journal, pen and paper that you're writing down instead of a typed up one. I feel like there's a little bit more personalized feelings that you can write down on pen and paper rather than typing it up. But anyways, managing expectations is a big one. And it's something that I struggled with in the beginning. Was whenever you come to the marketplace, you need to realize that expectations create poor decisions. So maybe, for example, maybe you're coming to the marketplace and you're really close to passing an eval, or you're really close to a specific profit target. That expectation that you are going to be green today, or you're going to take a winning trade, sometimes will force you to emotionally trade, maybe take a poorly managed setup, maybe one that you shouldn't be taking in the first place. And then what happens is, as reality, you take a loss, doesn't meet expectations, taking a win or being green, then you have this disappointment, which will lead to even further damage to your account and damage to your mental state. Emotional baggage. So you should be writing down really, were you suffering from drawdown, which maybe can contribute to some emotional baggage in the session? Was there anything that happened in your personal life that you can hopefully either write down or be acknowledged that may affect your trading, such as, maybe something went bad yesterday and now you can't think straight, come to the market, you can't focus properly because that thing is appearing in the back of your mind. Therefore, you should not be trading on that specific day. You also should be reviewing, and that should be going back into your old journals, going back into your old injecting logic. Basically, if this happens, I know what to do. Say you take a loss, a good loss, that happens with variance. You should be reviewing and prepping for, okay, if I take this loss, what will I do next? How will I feel? Will I lock myself out of my account? Will I drop risk? Will I just turn off the charts? All those things should be prepared for, so then when you get in that situation, you know exactly what to do. It's very set in stone, instead of trying to fight off the emotions and make a logical decision at the same time. Because from experience, and I'm sure you could probably relate, it's really, really difficult to do that when you have those emotions spiking and there's higher adrenaline, higher cortisol. It's really hard to think logically and make rational decisions if you don't have some sort of plan in place, right? So pre-market is going to be really, really important for making sure you have no expectations for the marketplace, no expectations of being in a trade at all during that day. And then also just reviewing your overall mental state and psychological state so you can perform at your peak during that day. Now, during the session, this is something that Jared Tendler talked about, but journaling during the session is really difficult. I'm going to say that out in the beginning. It's not something that comes naturally, and it's something you kind of have to just force yourself to do in the beginning, but then it gets easier and easier as you go on. But what you'll realize is, whilst you're in a demo trade or whilst you're tape reading, you'll have these impulsive thoughts. And some examples would be, okay, I need to jump in now, which would be FOMO, or it's getting close to my stop loss. Should I close out before it hits my stop loss so I can minimize the amount of risk that I take? Oh, this setup looks good. Oh, this setup looks bad. All those kind of impulsive thoughts and emotions will be jumping through your mind. And it's good to be aware of them, first of all, and also address them so then you can minimize them, or hopefully add some injecting logic as to why either those are rising and how you combat them whilst you're trading. So, for example, if you're in a demo trade, I would say maybe you're in a trade at 10:15, maybe at 10:17 it starts coming towards your stop loss. What you could write is, I was expecting a retracement here. My stop loss is in a good, healthy position where if it was to cross this, the trade is now invalid. I am not scared of this slight retracement, I just still believe it's strongly going to move in my favorite direction. But if it does stop me out, I can manage myself as a result. Okay. And then obviously during the session, it's going to be important to correct those negative thought loops where you just kind of spiral out of control and think that you're not in control, when in reality, you are perfectly in control of your own decisions, of your own actions. No one is telling you to do one thing over the other in the marketplace. And that's the nice thing and the scary thing at the same time, right? The nice thing is you only have to defeat yourself to be successful in this. But at the same time, then you can't shift to the blame or you can't contribute the losses to anything but yourself. So you have to take full accountability for your actions. But correcting those negative thought loops, right? Like of thinking that there's not going to be a setup, or thinking that what if I miss the fair value gap entry, or what if I take a stop loss, all those things can be corrected whilst as soon as they happen, rather than the post market, which is what everyone kind of tries to do. But if you can do it as soon as those emotions and those thoughts are fresh in your mind, it's really easy to then later on in the future, when you don't have to write down everything, just instantly removing those or not even having them at all, because you've done the work to actually prevent those thoughts and impulsive emotions to rise eventually, where you make an irrational decision. And then post market, probably the most important one that everyone does. I think you should have two kind of journals. One would be your psych, and then one for your technical. So your technical should be going back in once the day is done, screenshotting everything, from the higher time frame to lower time frame with perfect hindsight. So then you kind of have the benefit of seeing it twice. But then also the psychology part of it. So how did you feel going into the day? How did that, pan out? What was the result of it? How did you feel in and outside of the trade now that it either hit take profit or stop loss or break even? How does that make you feel? What is something that you can maybe correct? And it's really important to deal with the what is statements. What we do as traders is sometimes we try and look at the market with the what if viewpoint, right? What if I didn't get stopped out there? What if I didn't take this trade? What if I moved my take profit further and I got even more of a payout than what my take profit was originally? What if I had held longer? What if I closed out this? What if? And what you realize is you can't do anything about that. The what if statements in your life are really ruining your psychology and also ruining your progression, because you're so caught up in that fear and the self-doubt of trying to be perfect, when in reality you only have to be enough. And if you're enough, which everyone is enough, then you can trade properly, right? There's nothing new under the sun. There's no difference between you and a successful trader other than your mindset and how much time they've put into the charts, to be honest. So dealing with the what actually happened in that session? How did you perform? What were the mistakes you made? What were the good things you made? And that comes down to the third point, which is coach versus critic. You should always be a coach to yourself and not overly critical in the mistakes you made. So if you did something poor, maybe you overtraded, but it didn't result in anything crazy, obviously correct that in a good fashion, but don't be overly critical. Don't write down in your journal, I'm so stupid that I did this, right? That's not going to create any benefit for you in the future. You're just going to kind of continue to kick yourself down. So you have to be a coach. You have to obviously address the things you did badly, but also address the things that you did well. What are the things that you're proud of that you did today? Even if it feels like nothing went well, what are the things that felt like you went well, that went well for you, rather? What are the things that you can continue to do tomorrow? And what are the things that you need to correct for tomorrow or next week, so then you can be a better person and a better trader moving into the future, right? So it's obviously you have to walk that fine line between coach versus critic. You can't be overly critical. You can't be overly nice. It's better to fall on the side of being overly nice to yourself. And that's probably the one I would say you should just be doing 24/7, rather than being overly negative, which is never going to get you anywhere. So learning from mistakes. How can we take that journal and obviously implement it into our day-to-day where we can constantly improve? So you need to be focused on building good habits instead of the P&L. So you should, there's a time and a place for a monthly profit goal and a weekly profit goal and eventually a daily profit goal. But focusing on the P&L is going to get you nowhere. Okay. Neophyte traders early on in everyone's career were always focused on being green. And where does that get you? Nowhere. So what you need to be doing is focus on becoming a trader. Be a trader, right? Focus on building the good habits. Focus on actually implementing the trading model that you have. Focus on implementing the risk management that you need to be doing so you can actually be successful in this. So build the good habits. And what you could do is, in my journal at least, I've instead of writing down the P&L, I'll have it still in my journal. But what I'll have is for every day that I execute properly and I have good habits and I do everything that I'm supposed to be doing, regardless of the win, regardless of the loss, I'll put a little green star next to it because I'm focused on building the good habits, right? That to me is a green day. A red day or a yellow day, maybe I missed something technically, or I had some tiny expectations coming to the session that I couldn't articulate to myself originally, but then after the market was finished or after that day was finished, then I'm able to spot, okay, there was something that I did wrong. It's not a red day per se, but maybe there's something I can improve on. So it's a yellow day. But a green day should be, did you do everything you were supposed to be doing, regardless of the P&L? That's going to get you the furthest in trading, right? Noticing the patterns versus the one-offs in the technical game. This is important whilst you're building a model. If you've noticed that, okay, Mondays, your model is terrible and you see that it repeats over and over and over again, then maybe you have to adjust. What you don't want to be doing is adjusting every day, right? If you have a week of price action and maybe you have a model, maybe it's the unicorn setup, whatever it may be, ATM model. You don't want to be trying to change your model every single minute detail and perfecting it just based off of these little one-offs in the technical game. So maybe there was this one example where it didn't drop into discount. It just traded into this gap instead of the discount gap. And then it shot off from there. Well, was there a breaker? No. Okay, so then that's maybe just either a missed trade or just a loss that you have to take. And that's part of the good losses. We go back to that, right? So noticing the patterns, and if there's a pattern in those losses, then you can change it if they're all good losses. But then the one-offs in the technical aspect can be sometimes mitigated, other times they can't be. One-offs in the mental game should always be fixed, okay? And that comes back to not being overly critical on mistakes and allowing for imperfection. Don't got to be perfect, right? Just enough. If you're just 1% better than you were yesterday, that's all you can ask for. And then I saw this quote, I think on Twitter, but there's a reason, a season, a blessing, or a lesson, never a loss. So whether it's in trading or in life, there's always something you can get out of it and improve on, right? So there's a reason for maybe you lost or took a win, and you can apply this to everything, right? So if you never look at it as a loss, but you really just reflect and be like, okay, this is a stepping stone. This is, if you look at the last one here, using the obstacles and the adversities as stepping stones to become a best version of yourself and the better trader, that's where you improve. So maybe you pyramided in when you shouldn't have, and then you took a loss. Well, then you can work backwards and think, okay, this is another step where I can improve as a trader. I shouldn't have pyramided. That's part of my game that I need to improve on. Therefore, I'm one step closer to where I want to be, right? Walking the line between coach and critic, we already covered. Realizing and reflecting on your past achievements and how far you've come. This is an important one, right? Because sometimes we're so caught up in the grind and, getting to where we want to be, you forget to realize that you're in exactly what you prayed for 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, right? So reflecting on how far you've come and realizing all the blessings that God has given you at this specific time is going to be important because, first of all, you're going to realize that you are improving in this, right? You're not going nowhere. It may feel like you're going nowhere because it's difficult. And this is one of the hardest things this is the hardest thing that I've ever done. And it feels like in the beginning, especially, that you're making no progress. But, just being happy and proud of yourself for where you are currently, even if it's tiny wins, all that stuff will add up, and eventually your self-esteem and how you carry yourself will reflect in your life, in your day-to-day. Other people will realize it, how confident you are, but also in your own trading, right? How you feel in your trading, how you feel in your model, and that's going to be important too. So we're going to talk about self-discipline and the subconscious. This is one of the game changers, I think, for me, is understanding how the subconscious works. And it's basically just a computer program that's made from your parents, from your past experiences, from your institutions. All that stuff is how you think. And if you want to change the way you think, you got to change the way you talk to yourself and reprogram that subconscious. So there's a couple steps here of how you can be more self-disciplined. Step one would be self-aware and being accountable for your actions, thoughts, and habits. You can't be self-disciplined if you don't know what you're doing wrong or don't know what you have to fix, right? So the first step is actually being self-aware and, okay, I'm doing this, I shouldn't be doing it, and I need to be accountable because I'm the one that's doing it, right? No, you can't blame anyone else really for your own actions, thoughts, or habits. That's all on you. Notice how I didn't put emotions in there. Emotions are just part of being a human. Sometimes you can't control your emotions. What you can, though, what you can control is your reaction to the emotion. How are you going to respond now that that emotion has spiked? And the best thing you can do is just pause. You pause, accept that emotion is there, and what is the best course of action logically that you can do as a result that will lead to the best outcome, right? Step 2, finding the root causes and creating a game plan to redevelop your identity. So what we don't realize sometimes is the problems that we have mentally or in our actions, it stems from something deeper, either um, from experiences or scar tissue from the past. So there's always a root cause as to why there is a problem. And what you can do is you just work backwards. So, okay, here's my action. What was the thought that led to that? What was maybe the illusion that led to that thought? So maybe, for an example, I over leveraged today. Okay, well, why did you feel like you had to over leverage? Well, I had an expectation that I was going to pass my evaluation today. Well, we can work back even further. Why did you feel like you have to pass your evaluation? Because I had an illusion that I needed to pass my evaluation in a week. Well, who told you you had to pass an evaluation in a week, right? It's an illusion that you've convinced yourself of. No one told you that. You may have seen that, and that's what you think that successful traders may be doing. And I'm not saying that people can't do that. Eventually down the line, you'll probably be able to do that. But there's illusions that create these thoughts, which then create these actions that are not in line with how a profitable and successful trader operates, right? Then once you've redeveloped your game plan and your identity as to what you want to be, then it comes to constant execution and refinement. So day in and day out, focus on building those good habits, executing, and constantly refining that game plan that you've created is going to feel the best because it actually feels like you're improving in life rather than just staying stagnant. You're never stagnant, right? You're either improving or you're declining in life. You're just getting older. If it feels like you're staying stagnant, you're just getting older. There's nothing positive that's happening. So you either got to choose. Are you going to constantly improve in life, or are you going to stay stagnant and eventually just decline as the time goes on? And constantly refining down what your goals are, setting new goals, and managing your pride. That's obviously one of the last steps. So once you've achieved those goals, once you've become a successful trader, once you start making 10K a month, 10K a week, 10K a day, etc., what are the new goals you want to achieve? It could be monetary, but more importantly, it should be for the people around you. How do you want to treat the people around you? What can you provide to the community and those you love, where now this opportunity of financial freedom can improve their life, just like how it's improved yours? Okay, and managing pride is going to be something that's also difficult because, especially as entrepreneurs, you get to the point where you've made it, or it feels like you've made it, and you have a level of pride in yourself, which is good. You should be proud of your achievements, but not being overly prideful, right? You're not better than anyone else. And that's the harsh reality. Everyone's made equal. But, really just keeping yourself in check and staying humble, because those who are humble will be exalted. And that's really just the best way to live, is just a humble life, not feeling you're better than anyone else, and providing for those around you and hopefully carrying them up to the top exactly where you are. Got some bullet points down here too. We kind of covered all this. Okay, so at the core, self-discipline is just doing what you said you were going to do. So what did you say you were going to do? Are you doing it? Yes, no. That's self-discipline. It's the highest form of self-love. Because if you can't have trust in yourself, if you can't hold yourself accountable to what you said you were going to do, you're not going to, no one else is going to trust you, right? No one else is going to have faith in you if you can't be disciplined in yourself. And I feel like it's also a level of respect, especially at least in my life, is I respect myself more when I'm self-disciplined rather than kind of just giving into the pleasures of life or giving into the comfort. And comfort is the drug of 2024 and really of this generation. So not being comfortable, always striving to be better. Being disciplined outside and inside of trading. You can't be disciplined inside of trading without having discipline outside. So going to the gym, cutting out those bad habits you may have, smoking, drinking, whatever it may be. These go hand in hand. So don't think you can come to the charts and be disciplined and then outside you're smoking 24/7. It's not going to work, right? Self-belief versus self-doubt, something that you can really reflect on, is just believing in yourself, because if you don't believe in yourself, no one else will. And that just comes difficultly because you have to fight that fear of the self-doubt of never being enough. But eventually you'll get there. Comparison is the thief of joy. So always compare yourself to your past, but never compare yourself to others. Someone else may be on step 100 and you're on step 5, and you're worrying about what they're doing and you not being at that level. when they may have 6 years of experience on you. Okay. So never compare yourself to others, especially if you're doing well or doing bad. Just never do it. You can be happy of them and maybe you could strive for what they are achieving, but never compare yourself to the matter of you feel like you're less than enough. Daily affirmations and envisioning that success. So this applies to the subconscious part of it. Constantly reminding yourself of the identity that you want to have, and envisioning that success will reprogram your subconscious into thinking positively and working for you rather than against you. Okay. Creating and embody the identity of a successful trader, patiently waiting. So really just what does a successful trader do? How do they carry themselves? What are the habits they have? How do they execute? How do they manage their losses? How do they manage drawdown? All that stuff is going to apply it to how to properly lose, because now your identity as a successful trader is in line with exactly what your imagination of the successful trader will manage those losses, if that makes sense. And then patiently waiting for the outcome. So losses are a part of it, but as you eventually reach those goals of being self-disciplined and reprogram your subconscious, and achieving those goals, you have to just submit to the time that it takes. It may take 6 months, it may take 3 months, it may take 2 years, but just submitting to that process and knowing that it's a guaranteed outcome to you if you take the steps that are necessary, it removes a lot of pressure off your shoulders, feeling you have to rush to get there. You don't have to rush to get there, right? You have plenty of time to do it, and just accepting that is the easiest way to go about it. So some resources to use just before we wrap up. The Mental Game of Trading by Jared Tendler is a fantastic book. CJ Trades talks about it, but it's probably one of the best trading books that I've ever read. I don't even think I finished it. I think I left like 50 pages left, but top tier book when it comes to trading. The Greatness Mindset is also a really good one. It's not trading related whatsoever, but it really just makes you think about how you think and how you act and how to actually achieve your goals and become a successful entrepreneur, business leader, trader, whatever it may be. I just read it a couple weeks ago, and it's up there for sure. And then besides books, with some other ones, well, you have ICT's YouTube and Twitter Spaces, phenomenal, especially for us ICT traders. Those Twitter Spaces are going to be great. Justin Werlein, I don't know if I'm saying that name right. Another ICT trader, he's got some fantastic psychology videos, like top shelf stuff. 40 minutes long, 20 minutes long, but the way he explains some topics are just phenomenal. And then outside of trading, Matt Shields and Cameron England, they're two business owners in the SMMA space, but they have fantastic psychology videos, and they're perfectly applicable to traders and trading in general, but just how they think and how they act and how they move is just extremely beneficial. And once I've watched those videos from these guys, it's just crazy how you change the way you think, and that eventually will change the way you act, your habits, and then eventually your destiny. So appreciate you guys watching. Thank you for spending, I don't know how long this video was, 30 minutes or so with me. If you got any questions, you can leave them in the comments below. I've also have links to the private group, the public Discord, and then any one-on-ones that you may want to schedule. Feel free to just click any of those links, and I'd be happy to see you hopefully in the live streams that we have in the mornings for tape reading, and also on the weekends for backtesting and Q&A. So until I talk to you guys next time, good luck and good trading.